Do you remember that Labour manifesto? It seems like 100 years ago, but actually it was just over 12. It was only about 2 or 3 pages long and contained, I think, 2 or 3 policies on each of those pages. But it is absolutely worthless now. Look at what has been implemented by this government since then. Chagos, the winter fuel hokey-cokey yo-yo. Of course, the budget, which Renee's going to go into, and all the fun that Rachel Reeves had last week and indeed last year as well. But the point is, that manifesto has been totally and utterly shredded. Even in the last couple of days, you see, in fact, one policy that was in the manifesto, which was to do with Angela Rayner's employment rights bill. God help us. But anyway, they've already U-turned on a part of that policy as well. So what does this Labour government stand for? Does it even have a mandate? I would argue it doesn't. I would argue that given all of the policies they've implemented in the last 12 months have been cooked up on the hoof, and now they're talking about throwing Starmer to the wolves and getting a new leader in, if that happens, they'll have to go to the country and have a general election. They will have absolutely no mandate. This is a zombie government putting one foot in front of the other, trying not to stumble over and failing at every turn.
Kai, everything that Adam's just said is absolutely true. How can we trust this government ever again?
No, everything Adam just said is completely nonsense. I'm sorry. I like you a great deal, but look, a manifesto is neither a crystal ball, nor is it meant to be some sort of encyclopedic litany of all the policies that one might ever envisage implementing in government.
No, but it's a blueprint.
And also, you started with, do you remember the Labour manifesto? Who outside of wonks and nerds really reads manifestos? That aside, because it is an important point that the government is, after all, in name elected on this manifesto. Full fact is monitoring delivery on
full fact.
The pledges that Labour has made in the manifesto. Has 86 pledges. Do you know how they're doing? They're doing quite well. 18 achieved, 16 appear on track, 21 in progress, 3 not kept, right? 3 not kept.
What were they, Kai?
How does that square up? How does that square up with your claim that they have no mandate and we need to go to a general election? Unprecedented.
Well, look, Renee's going to talk about the budget a little bit more, but I seem to remember Rachel Reeves and indeed the entire then shadow cabinet saying they will not raise taxes on working people. And what does that mean? They will not raise...
That's one of the 3.
That's one of the 3, which is kind of a big one, isn't it? They will not raise income tax, VAT or national insurance. They did that last year with national insurance. They've now done that this year with the income tax freeze on the thresholds. Right?
I wouldn't have liked to do it.
Where in the manifesto was digital ID? Where in the manifesto was the change to inheritance tax and the farming taxes? Where in the manifesto was anything on the winter fuel allowance? OK, they eventually U-turned on that when they realised it was politically disastrous. But none of this was told to the country.
And Renee, I'll bring you in on this, but you've been disingenuous there, Kai, because you've said it can't be a crystal ball, and I agree. There may be policies that you may need to introduce due to circumstance.
Events,
but that's But that's very different to putting something into a manifesto and then breaking that promise. That is a fundamentally different thing which they have done. Renee, your thoughts?
So I think what Labour is showing us actually is that manifestos should be legally binding. That's what I really think. I think what they say in their manifesto should be legally binding. Anything they want to do that's radical and big, digital ID is massive. They should not be allowed to do it if they didn't get voted in to do it, because no one voted for it. So that's what I think about this. And they are breaking it in so many ways. And for me, the biggest one is the not taxing working people. Because firstly, most people are working people, regardless of whether that job is Bill Gates or the milkman.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living. And maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney? Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind the more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a
They're all
nonsense.
working
It's a
people.
nonsense
It's-
phrase.
Trey, you still
That is
vaguely
obviously
believe in
not.
capitalism, don't you? What do you
What's
think
that?
of this? You still vaguely believe in capitalism, don't you? What do you make of all of
love
Do
this?
you know what I make of it? Honestly, I think this was probably the most political budget they could ever do. I think it's all about saving their own necks, isn't it? I think it's about, being okay with the Labour backbenchers. It's kind of like an all things for all people.
Yep.
That's what this was. And in many ways, and it might not be great what I'm going to say, in many ways, people like us are responsible. Because I think Labour probably got to the point wherever we go, we're going to get absolutely hammered. So they're trying to please all people as much as possible so they can stay in power. That's what this budget is. It wasn't for the people. It was for them,
This is-
In
essentially.
fairness, Adam,
Yeah.
there may actually be something to that in that it is incredibly hard to argue for spending cuts in 2025 across any Western democracy, but it is blatantly obvious that this country is going broke.
It is.
How can you argue for spending cuts in this day
Very
and age?
easily. Very easily.
Really easily.
If you return spending levels to pre-pandemic, particularly on welfare, you save, I think, don't quote me, but at least 30 to 40 billion. Let's start with that.
But where would the hammer fall? That's the problem. Where would the axe fall?
Well,
Against
it would be, you'd have to massively reform universal credit. You'd have to look at PIP. They tried to do that. They tried to shave 5 billion.
Exactly. They
and
tried.
gave up.
That's the problem.
No. They tried, but they didn't face these invincible forces that defeated them. They faced their own backbenchers.
Look, I agree with you that welfare spending needs to be cut massively. The Labour government has failed on that because of its own backbenchers, who are not of my tribe of the left, right? But saying, you can cut spending really easily, that in recent months and years even has just proven to be much more difficult than even Donald Trump, Elon Musk and Reform's own council leaders have set it out to be. They claim to be able to cut spending and they never succeed.
Renee.
It's more difficult.
1,500 people a day are signing on now for universal credit. 1,500 people a day.
I agree.
The
prognosis we agree on.
Where are all these disabled people? Because I don't see them in the streets. I don't see them even in my GP surgery. Where are they? They're on their sofa and they need to get off.
Yeah.
And the biggest incentive to going to work is not having any money.
Trade.
I've done it.
Trey, do you think that over 1 million non-citizens should be on benefits in the United Kingdom?
No, absolutely not when you say it like that, but there's lots of different reasons why they actually
Hang
are.
on.
I mean, and you have a lot of people actually working on
You mean when I
universal
say
credit.
it like that,
People
I'll
always
just state the
assume
fact.
that everyone on universal credit isn't actually
Yes,
in
but
work.
therein lies another
Their money is
problem.
being topped up.
What about an
There is
EU
a problem.
migrant
If we
who's
are
paid in?
if we are having big companies employ people that need us to top it up, then they're not paying enough. And the bill should go back to those companies.
Agreed.
Not to me.
Agreed. No, agreed.
It's a disaster.
Agreed.
The benefits trap is an enormous problem. If it's more selfishly, if it makes more sense to go on benefits than to get a low-paid job, what choice are you going to make?
It's stopped being a safety net. It's become a way of life. I think that's one of the
That's
issues.
the point.
Again, in the interest of my position as host on this panel, in the interest of balance, I will do something which will potentially frustrate many of our viewers and many on the right, and that is, it is obvious that the triple lock is economically unsustainable.
Absolutely.
Renee, do you
Renee.
think that the triple lock should be scrapped?
No, I don't. And I'm sick and tired of a government that makes decision to spend billions, Shagos, benefits, day in, day out, net zero, carbon capture, and throwing our old people to the wolves. Before we had the triple lock, we had more old people living in poverty than any other country in Europe.
I agree that there is lower hanging fruit than the
Right.
triple lock. I think that is fair. But Adam, do you think the triple lock is sustainable in the long term?
No, it's not.
It isn't.
It is not. 25% of pensioners are millionaires. That's a simple fact.
Because of their houses, Adam.
And
Because
it
of
still
their house.
matters.
No, it doesn't.
Dr. Renee, it still matters.
you
Cry
are
me
cruel.
a river.
You are cruel.
I'm sorry. Stating that 25% of pensioners being millionaires is
this is
gross inequality.
We had this
It's totally
conversation the other
unsustainable.
night, and I said to you about a woman who might be living in her family home where she's raised her children, heading towards Alzheimer's, and you said to me, she'll have to sell her house. You're cruel.
I
The
did
left
not.
are cruel.
Well,
you
I
did say that.
It's a hard one.
I will try.